Hey everybody, welcome back, especially to those of you that have been on the channel for any period of time. And for those of you that are new here, welcome to you as well. Look forward to having you on future videos. And before we get started, make sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Got a bunch more stuff coming at you soon. So let's go ahead and dive into this. Tonight's video, men walking away. And the false accusations that are just basically destroying lives, the allegations that are out there just ripping men's lives apart. And I can't begin to. I'm going to start in with a story from a guy that I knew of years ago that I found out about over the last couple of years. Who basically what happened was he got married to somebody who had gone out and cheated on him, even though the two of them had a child together. Um, she was caught lying to him over and over and over again. Multiple people, including myself, tried to convince this individual to completely cut loose of her, to run. She had already shown signs of being extremely deceptive, and like she was willing to weaponize the legal system against him and turn his life upside down. He didn't want to listen. Ultimately ended up being accused of doing inappropriate things with his 3-year-old daughter, which if you knew this individual, you'd realize, no, it's extremely unlikely that there's any merit to this at all. But given this woman's history, from what the things that he had told me and accounts that other people, I guess, that had known her were kind of swearing by when it came to her, that she was just basically an incredibly deceptive person and had a tendency to kind of demonstrate that in a lot of her dealings. And unfortunately, this guy ended up being charged. I don't think anything has been completely decided yet, but what I can tell you is this: we can all learn a lesson from this in watching our own backs when it comes to who we choose to involve ourselves with, and really looking for the warning signs. And even better, I mean, if you're avoiding relationships across the board, I completely understand it. I do not encourage people to get married at all legally here in the United States or anywhere in any Western country at all, unless by some miracle the laws change. But let's not even talk about that, because let's be realistic, that's not going to happen. We're not going to go backwards any more than they're going to lower prices and make things affordable and reasonable again. That would be like Congress agreeing to limit itself. I mean, while we're dreaming, why don't we talk about that? So do not get married, not legally at any rate, and know the laws of where you live. Know the laws. Watch out for women that are going to get connected to you that could potentially bring this sort of drama into your life, because the legal consequences are quite horrific. I cannot begin to stress that enough. There was a guy that I was reading a letter from uh, one of the followers of the channel, one of the subscribers. They had emailed me and said, told me a rather harrowing tale about a guy that had self-deleted over this whole mess, where he was falsely accused of a number of different things, and his ex was turning his life completely upside down, making it hell. Everything from SA to harming their kids, and it eventually got to the point to where just the allegations were doing enough damage to where his life was completely over as he knew it, and unable to move forward with work, unable to move forward professionally, and losing his job. He just didn't see any other alternative. And to me, it is just mind blowing. I mean, especially since none of this stuff was actually proven, or there was no conviction in a court of law, yet it can damage your life that much. And first things first, I would like to say, I personally am a huge advocate for the fact that if you make a false accusation against something, a charge ought to be brought against you. If you're going to turn somebody's life upside down and you don't have the proof to back it up, you need to be charged, because you can't just go around ruining people's lives like that. Now, I realize that that's about as much of a pipe dream as expecting the economy to get better or Congress to self-regulate, but realistically, I would love to see that happen. Imagine how much that would change things. I myself went through a number of times when I was, for those of you familiar with my divorce story, I went through a number of different things with my ex throughout the course of it, as we were struggling over money and she was getting caught committing alimony fraud, where she slung whatever she thought could stick. and we worked on it and finally we get it dismissed, gotten rid of, just whatever she could do. And then unfortunately I had a dating story like that where when I ended things with this person after realizing it was not a good relationship, it was not something I wanted to move forward with. I hadn't been able but so long, and at this point I was starting to become red pill, so I was aware of some of the warning signs, and I started to kind of slowly back myself away, sort of like you're backing yourself away from the table and trying to figure out how best you can make your escape and just vanish, because you realize having a conversation with them about it isn't going to get you anywhere, because if it could, you wouldn't be in the predicament that you're in. And I remember trying to slowly back away from that situation and realizing this person's going to go nuts because their ego is going to explode. It's going to explode. And that's exactly what it did. The false allegations started flying. It was thankfully for me, she was trying to do it through a bunch of fake social media accounts that she would create and try to harass me and family and friends and even people that she never even met during the time of my relationship with her, and tried to use that as a form of weaponization against me, basically character assassination and reputation destruction. And as she tried to do all of that, I mean, it took a while to finally disarm it, but coming out of that, I started to learn to see the red flags of it. And I have to say something else about this too. Having spoken to attorneys about this sort of thing, the reputation destruction, the false allegations, I've had it explained to me by them and by multiple other men that have been through this, where this is basically a legal strategy coming right out the gate. When they decide they want to get a divorce from you, they decide they want to start to shut things down and end things with you, basically one of their opening salvos or somewhere in the beginning there, or once they maybe even have filed for divorce or they're about to, a lot of the times during the negotiation process of trying to figure out what's going to be what, suddenly all these allegations start popping up out of nowhere, stuff that's never happened during the marriage, stuff that never uh, has ever been a part of your lives, suddenly mysteriously appearing, and these accusations start popping up. And it's part of a legal tactic to basically get you rocked back on your heels, so you're not thinking clearly. You're thinking more along the lines of, how do I protect my reputation, protect my good name, and defend myself against all this insanity. And they're hoping that you're doing that and you're not going to be paying too much attention to the divorce that's actually taking place and how everything's going to get decided, oftentimes financially. And having heard this from attorneys who have confirmed, yeah, this is pretty much a legal tactic that they hit you with. Just mind blowing to me that these false allegations don't get legally prosecuted. And at the same time, considering our culture and the way everything's going, I guess not too mind blowing. And I guess one thing that I would, a couple of different signs of this, and they really all kind of boil down to this. Are you seeing levels of deception in somebody that you've met? Oftentimes they tend to brag about it. They start talking about how terrible this one person was. And then you begin to realize, you start to unravel pretty quickly. Wait a minute, this individual was probably being falsely accused of things so you could either force them out or form some sort of control over their life during the course of maybe the divorce or the breakup or whatever was going on. When you see a sign of anything like that, don't even attempt to negotiate with that. Flee. I learned that through not just the deal with the alimony fraud with my first marriage, but when I would date people and I was becoming red pill over time, as I was mentioning before, you start to spot that. You realize you got to get out of there. You got to get out of there. It's sort of like if somebody's talking bad about other people in front of you, it's a guarantee pretty much at some point they'll be talking about bad about you when you're not around. You now know how they behave behind closed doors. You're no specialty. You're no exception to the rule. Well, it's the same thing with people that like to make false accusations. You're not an exception to the rule. If they've been making false accusations against other people in an attempt to control, manipulate, or damage their lives, or the threat of that they think will gain them more manipulative control over everything, then you already know who you're dealing with, and you just have to accept that fact. So you have to look for signs of that, and not just in how they deal with you, but how they dealt with people in the past. Major signs of that would be in marriage. Like if they've admitted, oh, well, I shouldn't have gotten this money, but I managed to do it because I was deceptive and I did this, or I should have been able to get more support money. I got more support money because I lied about it and I did this and I did that. And they're sitting there essentially bragging to you as if you're going to look at that and realize how smart they are. What they're doing is revealing their character and what they're going to do to you in the future. So if they ripped off their spouse, they're going to rip you off. If they ripped off their exes, they're going to rip you off. And a lot of the times they'll brag about it beforehand because they think that they're saying something that might even be impressive to you. When in reality, they're just revealing to you they're a con artist and somebody who's going to be never-ending trouble for you in the future. And something to remember about all of this is that when it comes to the false allegations, the false accusations, the stuff that's being used for the reputation destruction and control of your life, it is all about control. They want to destroy, but they can't manipulate. And we have to remember that when dealing with people like this. When you start to see signs of it, that's who you're dealing with. You are dealing with somebody that if they can't manipulate you and they can't control you, they're going to find a way to destroy your life. And unfortunately, in this day and age, especially for men, false accusations and the smear and the weight of these allegations can upend your life, make you unemployable, essentially, and nobody will want to be connected to you. And all it will have to do is be just the stain of it. They're just muddying the waters and making it look like you are something that you're not, despite many, many years of your behavior being, the defining characteristic of who you are. They're doing everything they can to try and sink your boat, and you just have to be aware of it. As I've said in other videos, the fact that I'm a Christian, I like to quote this: be wise as a serpent, yet gentle as a dove. But that means you need to know the tactics of the people coming against you and don't walk right into those traps. You can easily identify this sort of thing if you're very careful. And for those of you that are just avoiding relationships and avoiding any type of traditional marriage to where you're going to get tied all up into this financially, very, very smart. There's very, very few people, if hardly any, out there in the Western world that you really can trust these days. So no amount of scrutiny really often is too much. Sad to say, but I think that's the point that we are at as far as our society and our culture goes. So on that lovely high note, I'm going to leave this video there right here, and I got a few more ones coming down the pipeline that we'll talk about coming up soon. But as always, I would like to hear your thoughts and comments. What experiences have you guys had with false accusations? Men, women, it doesn't matter which side you're coming from. Everybody, I'm sure, has had to deal with stuff, or has been many of you falsely accused, even to the point where you had to deal with it legally. So yeah, your stories in the comments might help somebody else avoid that same trap. You never know. So I look forward to talking to you all again soon, and I hope you all have a great night.